State your name for the committee.
My name is John Hill.
All right, you're recognized. Speak for the bill.
I'm here today representing the Landlord Association.
Turn that microphone on, please. Lift the button up. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me? Appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm here today representing the Landlord Association of Arkansas, as well as our residents, our tenants who rent from us in various properties that we own. And I have a couple of notes, a few points that I wanted to go over. And before I do, I want to address one of the things the prosecutor said before, that there was no discussion of actual cases here in Arkansas. And one of the reasons we're here today is because one of our landlords in Pine Bluff has been a victim of prosecution under this legislation, under the law as it exists now. And I believe you heard Representative Burr speak to that. The thing that I've had an opportunity to speak to landlords on several occasions around the state, and the thing that is interesting to me is that they're not surprised by the law the way it is written now, but they are in fact shocked to learn that we have this duty, this obligation to flee or retreat from attack. I spoke to landlords in North Little Rock recently, and a room full of people about the size of this, and those landlords simply were not aware that they had an obligation to flee if they were attacked on their own property. And so I would ask you to consider the fact that if a landlord is going to be attacked, or a tenant is going to be attacked, it's just as likely to happen out on our property where we're working, in the parking lot, in a vacant unit that we may be entertaining or servicing or doing repairs to. And I haven't heard that mentioned. What is our protection there if we're attacked on premises that are not our home? What is the protection for our residents and our tenants who are attacked in the parking lot going to and from their vehicles? We had a landlord in Jonesboro who was recently attacked when he went in to inspect a vacant parking. He was attacked with a lead pipe. And my question would be, we talked earlier about the obligation to retreat if you can do so in complete safety. At what point in time does he have time to sit down and make that decision when he's being hit in the head with a lead pipe? Is he to stop and think, okay, do I have an opportunity to escape? Do I have an opportunity to retreat? Where is the door? Can he even remember, am I at home or am I at one of my rental properties? My point being that is that we tend to react, and we talk about that fight or flight instinct, and some of us would tend to retreat, but there are others who would react in a response that is to fight someone who is attacking us. And in this case, that landlord was being attacked by someone who was not a tenant, but he was going into a property that he believed to be vacant, not inhabited, and he was attacked as he walked through the door. Now, he was not given the opportunity to react or to use deadly force because, frankly, he was under attack so quickly. But had he been given the opportunity, I happen to know the gentleman, he's what I would refer to as a tough old party. I can assure you that he would have used whatever force necessary to protect himself. And he would have had the potential to be prosecuted under the law as it exists now, to my understanding. And we say, well, that would never happen, but then we look at the case in Pine Bluff where that is exactly what happened to one of our landlords there. So I would hope that you would consider the property owners don't just own property that are their homes that they reside in, but there's also properties that we are spending a lot of time in, our rental properties, our rental houses, apartments, and so forth, and also apartment complexes, rental properties, whether they be commercial or residential, have this common ground where, you know, when you build a house, you have a yard. And when you have an apartment complex, I believe the term that you guys are using, curtilage or something like that, how does that apply to the parking lot of the apartment complex? So there are things there to think about, not just for landlords, but for our residents that need that protection as well in certain areas of the state. So I guess my point is that it's unreasonable. It's easy for us to sit in a room like this and talk about what's safe, when is it completely safe to retreat, and is there a safe opportunity to retreat. But when you're being attacked, you don't have time to think about it. And I think that's an unreasonable burden on law-abiding citizens to ask them to be the one to make that determination that can I or can I not safely turn my back to this attacker and retreat. I don't carry a weapon. I don't carry a gun. And to me, this is not really about a gun issue. But I have been known to have a hammer or a crowbar. And, you know, and my contractors have come out to repair property. How does that affect me? If I have a gentleman out on one of my properties to service an air conditioner, he has no right to defend himself. He has a legal obligation to drop everything in the street. And I don't think people have time to think about, or they aware of the fact, nor are they aware of the fact that they have some obligation to do to retreat from their attack. It just seems unreasonable, it seems unlogical, and it seems, you know, in some cases unresponsible to turn your back to someone who's attacking you and run the other way. In fact, it seems unmerited. We as landlords and property owners have an obligation to go in to our properties. It's imposed upon us by certain rules and regulations of law and by common sense in order to go into vacant units where we don't know what's in there and make inspections and find out what's going on. If someone is in there, we often get a phone call and says, you know, something's going on in this apartment that we believe to be vacant. You know, we need to go in there and check that out and find out what's going on, not just for protection of our property, but for protection of our residents who may have adjoining property. So we have an obligation to find out what's going on in that property, not just to protect the property, but to protect our other residents and tenants who are living there. So I guess that was my main concern is I hope that you will consider the fact that it's not just about homeowners, but it's about people who have property out there. It seems unreasonable that I could be standing on my own property and be attacked by someone who is a criminal, and yet I have an obligation and a duty to turn my back and retreat. So I would ask you to consider, who do you represent? Are you here to represent criminals? Where's their obligation? Where's the obligation of criminals to flee? Okay, are you here to represent the law-abiding citizens who pay taxes and stuff?
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Any questions for Mr. Hill? All right, we got about 2 minutes left. Next on the list is HB Foster. Richard Foster, will you need more than 2 minutes? Okay, well, you're recognized now. Just state your name for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is H.G. Foster, and I appear today as H.G. Foster, not as representative of the Arkansas Prosecuting Attorneys Association. I have very close to 30 years as a prosecutor and have had occasion to deal with many situations as have been discussed here today. The problem, and I'm a member of DNRA, lifetime member, have shot practical pistol competition with Mike Plaxco, disciple of Jeff Cooper, all of that. People, my friends refer to me as a gun nut. So I have no problem with the right to defend oneself. My problem is with unintended consequences on legislation that attempts to address certain situations or certain perceived problems that I do not believe exist. Right now, you have a very good mechanism in place for reviewing the uses of deadly physical force. You have trained law enforcement officers who respond to shootings. They evaluate those situations and make determinations. Under current law, they have the power to detain someone for purposes of performing their investigation. Although there's conflicting language on page 4 of the bill, I'm trying to get this in 2 minutes, conflicting language, it does say that they are prevented from